I want you to keep those patterns in mind, so that, let's take out the writing samples that you brought today. Yes?
Sorry, can I discuss more about the position?
Sure.
The position means that what I did wrong is that I compare all the things with equally tough.
Well, you didn't do it wrong. It's not wrong.
Something
Yeah.
can to improve, right?
Yeah.
I compare every software, every programs with equally position, but actually I need to recommend one, and I need to discuss all these programs around this key one.
Well, this is what you
It's my
need to have an
position.
awareness of, because I suspect that you're doing this in your literature review too.
Yeah, right.
So imagine that all these like pieces of literature that you're writing about are these software programs.
Yeah.
So you're talking about all these these summaries and these features from these articles or chapters that you've read, right? You have to keep in your mind as you're writing this, why am I including this information? What's the point of mentioning this? Right? It's not to say that you have to write a response to that, but you have to have an awareness of this while you're writing. Why did you choose to focus on certain articles or certain book chapters or certain studies for your lit review? And I'll ask you this in real, for real.
Yeah.
So what the lit review is for what assignment? The one that you brought?
It's more about moral self-reflection.
Moral self-reflection, okay. What's your program again? What class is this for? Because
It's OBE, the organization behavior.
organizational behavior,
Yeah.
okay. So, and this literature review, what's the assignment?
The
overall assignment.
is a short proposal.
Mhm.
I want to explore the construction of moral self-reflection, what it is, and explore its relationship with leader ethical behaviors.
Why? Why are you focusing on that? What's your ultimate point?
Because the self-regulation is very important in morality, because the law is very clear, but moral is more inside thing. So you need to use self-regulation to control your moral behaviors.
Mhm.
And self-reflection is one important step in self-regulation.
Okay.
It activates the self-regulation.
Mhm.
Especially it's very important for leaders because they have less controls around them,
Mhm.
and especially in culture like China or other Asian cultures,
Mhm.
there's long power
Mhm.
distance.
Mhm.
So the leaders are more significant to learn about self-regulation, and especially the self-reflection as the activation of the self-regulation.
Okay, how many sources are you using in your literature review?
Sources, it's not just a literature review, it's a proposal. So
But there's literature review in the proposal, so how many articles or book chapters or whatever are you including?
I didn't count that,
Yeah,
but it will be, this is a very short one, and it's only include about 1 page
okay,
references.
okay.
In an expanded version, I think it will be include more, at least I think 20 or 30.
Okay, so, what do they all have? Well, I'm gonna ask you some questions
Yeah,
here. You
sure.
should take notes on this, right?
Sure.
Because one of these questions will be like the one, right? So what do all these, okay, the first thing is, why did you choose to focus on these? Or why did you choose to include these particular, literatures? Okay, so just think of, why did you choose to include them? What do they all have in common?
Yes.
How do they support my thesis? Now, by supporting your thesis, it could be like you read an article where it can support it in different ways. You can support it either by being very supportive of the idea or by mentioning a certain concept related to your idea, but it's insufficient, right? So the way it supports it could also be because it presents a counter argument, but you feel like you have a stronger argument. or it's like a partial argument, right? But you're including it for a reason. Maybe the study you're looking at, you know, set the basis for this, you know, it's a foundation for this, but they didn't move beyond a certain point. So you're actually expanding on that, right?
Yes.
Or maybe the thing you're including is totally in contradiction to what you're trying to prove, but you have more evidence to show that they were wrong. Okay, but in any case, there's a reason for why you're, you know, you don't want to be including tons and tons of literature just for the sake of sounding like an authority on this. Ultimately, it's like, well, why are you including this? How's it helping to, so how is this how are these literatures helping me to build my case? That's what you want to keep in mind. So since from your, you know, the thing we did on the software, I could hear that your position was a little bit unclear or like missing. I'm suspecting that the same thing is going on here, that you're including all these pieces of literature to sound more like an authority and that you're on top of this, but so how is it useful? How is it answering the question that you're posing and answering? Okay?
Okay.
All right, so hang on to that, because then, you know, we're gonna like look at your stuff. So what did you bring?
I brought a part of my paper for urban economics, looking at the reasons for New Jersey's high property taxes.
Oh, good question, okay. Because I know that one of the gubernatorial candidates is trying to address that. Nobody has been able to.
It's always an issue.
Yeah, it's always an issue. Nobody's been able to address it. Okay, so what section of the paper is this that you brought?
This is the section that talks about the evolution of the state's role, because historically, the state did not have much power designated in the Constitution. And after the Great Depression, when a lot of the municipalities were in financial distress and then went bankrupt, that they really needed help from the state government in order to you know, keep their operations going. So that prompted the shift from the shift of power from local government to state level government, and then I brought on the third revision of the New Jersey's Constitution, where the governor's office was given much more power compared to what they had in the past.
So this section is from the introduction, from the middle, from the middle, where you're making an argument for what?
I'm saying that the evolution of the state's role in how municipalities operate their local affairs actually contributed to the problems of property taxes when it was trying to help alleviate it.
Okay, could you, what you just told me, I'm sure it's in the introduction, but could you write that at the top of the beginning of that section? Exactly what you told me. Okay. All right, so how about you? What'd you bring?
I thought I brought a Department of Global Affairs paper, but I didn't. I have one from, this is from, this class is Ethical Public Service. This next class is Democratic Foundations for Public Service and Administration. And the next one is Intro to Nonprofit.
Okay,
The Intro to Nonprofit is a
I want you to choose one though, because
is a group
yeah.
composite that I had to edit and do all that. So we'll throw this in the
choose the one that, you know, you're having the toughest time with, or, you know, that you would find would be the most useful to work on.
Okay, let's try this one.
Okay, and which one is that again?
This one is ethical. This is Ethical Public Service.
Ethical Public Service. Okay, and so what's that assignment?
This assignment is that I had to pick a article from a newspaper or a television program, whatever, credible, current, and I had to write a, I would say more of a descriptive, explanatory, you know, with a little twist of, how would they call it again? Response to it.
So you're basically doing like a summary, assessment, reflection?
Yeah, I even had an abstract in this. You want to hear it?
Sure, read the abstract. Was the abstract required?
In a sense, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Allergens are of significant concern to the health of an individual.
What are they?
Allergens.
Allergens, okay.
Yeah, allergens are of significant concern to the health of an individual, as some allergens may be annoying, hay fever, while others can be life-threatening without necessary medical prescribed treatment. It is good business practice for the CEO of a company to uphold his or her fiduciary duties to the investors and employees of their company. But it is unethical and a conflict of interest when the CEO, in maintenance of their fiduciary duties, violates the code of ethics that they have pledged to uphold. Public outcry has brought the unethical act of price gouging to the forefront of recent news. Answering to the outcry of consumers, voters, and taxpayers, Congress has investigated the allegations of price gouging against Mylan Pharmaceuticals. Due to public pressure and congressional scrutiny, Mylan has agreed to an out-of-court settlement rather than possibly face the federal prosecution for violation of antitrust laws. Subsequently, Mylan has become a case study of when corporate profits are deemed unethical greed.
Okay, that's the abstract, you said. So what, you're doing a version of summary, assess, reflect. So there's a lot of information there, a lot of, that's very informative. It's but what about what your assessment of it is? What's your position?
Well, my position...
Because from what you told me, the assignment is calling for that, right? So if it's an abstract, it's going to have a position.
It did.
If it's an abstract for this kind of a paper, it's going to have some kind of position. What's the position?
That Mylan became a case study of when corporate profits are deemed unethical greed.
Okay, and as a result of that, what happened or what changed or, you know?
Mylan settled a lawsuit with the federal government for the price gouging that it was clearly showing that they were doing. Mm-hmm. And they settled a lawsuit.
Mm-hmm. Why is that significant?
Why is it significant? Because it involved billions of dollars. It involved people's health. Mm-hmm. It involved public outcry to the point of let's go to congressional hearing.
So this is for ethical public service?
Correct.
So because of this case, did it result in a policy change of some kind?
It resulted in a policy change of the company, Mylan, where they had to cut back, reduce their pricing.
Good. And what was the impact of that on the public? Or
the impact on the public was at one point because medication was paid for by government. Some of the recipients, the price gouging affected the public.
Mm-hmm. So, and how do you feel about this case and its consequences?
The consequences is that Mylan was made an example of in the media and congressional records.
Yeah.
Even the late night talk show guys are doing their little thing regarding Mylan, and they were seen as a pariah. But Mylan took it in another sense of this is the cost of doing business because their stocks went up afterwards.
Right. Again, I'm getting a lot of like that. The first part of that assignment, you're totally giving it, right? But like, the assignment calls for a little bit of evaluation on your part, so that requires a little bit of a position. So
but that's only the abstract.
Yeah, but the abstract. Remember, the abstract. People are looking for abstracts to help supplement, for articles or other literature or studies to help supplement their research. It's very well that they could just be looking for something that provides information on this company and in this case, right? Mm-hmm. But if you were truly going to do an abstract in terms of having done, a full paper on this or an article on this, you would come to some kind of conclusion, some kind of reflection on this. So, what would that be? And I'm only saying that because your assignment is not just a purely descriptive one or informational one. The assignment does ask for you to, what was the words you used? You didn't use assess or reflect, you used...
Okay. I see what you're saying. Mm-hmm. That statement didn't give much of a position.
There's no position there. You're giving me a lot of information, but how is this going to be useful for me as a researcher in your field or someone who's interested? It doesn't even have to be someone in the field, but someone who's interested in this, right? As just a member of the public, how is this going to be useful to me? What are you recommending? Or what did you, what's your position? Right? Mm-hmm. You mean,
Okay.
Let's not talk in like academic terms. Was this a good thing or a bad thing?
Okay, so you're saying in that context of that abstract, I should have said something to the effect that this paper or my thesis or my argument will show that Mylan was complicit in price gouging and deserved
If that's what the purpose of your paper is, right? If that's what your assignment is. Again, if the assignment was purely to be informational, so just, stick to the facts of the case and don't take a position, then, an abstract like that might be fine. But the assignment seems like it's definitely for you to take some kind of position on this, assess this, or evaluate this in some way. So in that case, it's not a study that you're doing, right? It's just
No. It's I have to take an article that involved ethical, how would you say it? Ethical violations, public ethical violations. And that was the one that I chose, but I see what you're saying, that I should have took a stance in the initial
Yeah, because it
abstract
seems
to
like
say-
from what you told me, the assignment is asking you to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and actually what you read, that's a pretty long abstract. It sounds more like an introduction than how many,
You sure?
yeah, I don't know, there's a lot of,
This is like about, how many sentences? This is like, one, 2, 3 sentences.
really, for some reason, it sounded long. It sounded more like an introduction than an abstract.
I've seen some long abstracts before.
Yeah, it depends on what
Yeah, I've seen some long abstracts.
Some abstracts tend to be on the short side. If you're really doing an abstract to submit to a panel proposal or to submit to a publication, a journal, they each have requirements, and that's part of it. You should really be aware of what the requirements are. They range between 100 to 500 words. Most of them will fall in the middle, like 250 to 300. 250 to 350. It's rare to see like a 500-word abstract. Keep that under your hat for now. So you're up.
Okay, I brought in an article that, I brought in a couple articles that I wrote for the Voice, which is the paper of the Diocese of Newark. And this one is September 11 marks the 50-year milestone at St. Barnabas' Newark.
So what program or class is this for?
This wasn't for a class.
This is just for...
This is just a sample of my writing because I didn't, all of my classwork is in my tablet, which is not there.
Okay, and so why, and this is a particular interest to you for what reason?
Well, first of all, the person that I'm writing about, Father Pearson, was my priest growing up.
Okay.
And St. Barnabas was my church growing up. And I spent 10 years there as director of music and worship. And I wrote this article for the diocesan paper about the freedom ride that Father Pearson went on.
Okay. Okay, is that why he was arrested?
Yes, that's
Yeah,
why he was
okay.
arrested. Yeah, he was arrested because he was on a freedom ride.
And so, you want to write about this? Is that why you brought that in?
No, I didn't bring a sample with me, so I went down and found some stuff that was on the web.
I
that I've
see.
written.
Okay, so you kind of have to come up with an assignment, we have to come up with a writing assignment related to this for you.
Okay.
Yes, okay. To do that, though, this interests you for what reasons? Not just the fact that,
That I knew him.
that you knew him, for what other reasons? So start
well-
writing down a list of reasons, in other words, reasons why I'm interested in this article.
Okay.
Or in this, so start jotting down a list of reasons,
Okay.
okay? So, okay, so all of you are at different stages with this, so. You have your samples out, yes?
Yes, I do. I have some
Okay.
that's not, there's no abstract.
Okay, so from what we just talked about, so we sort of did some diagnosis of possible issues going on in your writing. Okay, so before I actually come around and, start looking at it, I want you to see if you can self-diagnose in the actual writing itself. So I want you to look at your writing sample, and based on what we discussed for each of you individually, read through and see if you can mark sections in your writing where you think that issue might apply. Like, for instance, for you, it would be, I think that this is where I need to, take a position or make my position clearer, right? For you, you wrote down what your position is, the purpose of the assignment, right? So for you, let's see, the shift of power from local government contributed to issues of property tax in New Jersey. So let's be a little bit more specific. Contributed to issues of property tax. What does that mean? Right. You want to make sure that you're crystal clear on what the purpose or the thesis of your assignment is. Okay. So keeping this in mind as you're going through this. Is it a while before you get back to this? Are you just going on and giving a lot of information, not kind of tying it back to this? So I want you to look through it and again, put little marks where you think, or little notes where you think that this might be the problem, okay? Now for you.
This is one we read. These are the other two. This doesn't have, these two don't have anything.
We're gonna just stick to the one you read
Okay.
though. Projects that you will work on, whether it's other papers or panel presentations or whatever it is, right? So Forrest and I are talking about something that he brought in a sample that's not part of his studies, but he's got an interest in it in a way because of the same interest that led him to his studies. Okay, so it's super important to keep a research notebook, not just for your assignments, but for the bigger practical. Okay. All right, so.
Sort of like C. Wright Mills wrote in Sociological Imagination about keeping a journal, and I read that so many years ago.
So you got a lot to draw on. You got that. I would note that down. Note down what you said about influences on you for becoming a musician. This connected to civil rights. I mean, you've got a lot, but the music has to be kind of the core thing that the other things are going to revolve around, okay?
Yeah, music in the Anglican Church is very
Yeah.
important.
That's a great angle, actually.
Yeah, it's very important.
Okay, so, all right, so this is your notes that you just wrote?
Yes.
Okay, so, this is the research question section, okay.
Research question, contribution, and.
So you're incorporating the literature into these different sections?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not like a strict literature review?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. All right, so, is this a quote from someone, or is this idea taken from someone?
This is my own idea.
It's your own idea, okay.
This concept. I think this is my position.
Okay. Really no conception of subdivision. Now, this is the beginning of, the introduction comes before this, right? So this is about midway through the paper, or the first,
This should be the introduction part.
it's the introduction?
Yes.
Okay, so this is really the beginning?
Yes.
Okay.
Because this assignment have a 4-page limit, so it's very short.
And it asks you to break it down into these
Yeah.
4 sections?
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
okay. Now, can I have a pen?
Sure.
Now, for here,
Translation?
no, be good to have literature reference here to support this. Okay, you know what I mean? So, there might be a theory that already exists that you can use it to further support this,
Just put my definition.
Yeah, Smith wrote about this in blah, 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 noting that, you know what I mean? It's just another way to support your idea, okay? Building on conceptions, examine how moral suffering influences managers. Now, managers in what? Managers of what? In corporation?
Yeah, in corporation or in organization.
So I'm gonna, for it, question mark,
How about if I use leaders other than
For
managers?
corporate leaders, corporate leadership.
Oh, because I use the leadership here, so.
Corporate, some of our influences, is managers a term used in your, it's okay, in your field?
Supervisors?
You know, if you say corporate leaders or corporate supervisor on ethical behaviors.
Oh, yes.
Now, corporate behaviors. Okay, yeah, this is a good place to, like here, these two. I examine this, these two, and I'm gonna ask you for what purpose? Right?
Why I'm interested in this
Yeah,
question.
like, you know, it
Why
not,
it's important for them to know this.
yeah. You know, by looking at this and maybe changing this, it's possible to do this. That's just an example, right? But there's a reason, you don't wanna just, you wanna answer the so what question. Okay, so with that in mind, you know, fill out what the purpose is, and then go through the rest of it again and see if you're connecting back to the position and the purpose. Okay?
Okay, sure.
All right, so. All right, so,
I pulled it up on this one, looking and see some of the, what you call it again, the passive safety.
yeah,
I'm going through it by hand here now.
so you're looking for that, and you're
Yeah.
also looking for whether the reflection assessment evaluation part is
Yeah,
coming through here, right?
right. I want you to just work me in a couple more paragraphs. You showed me regarding the intro. Now, as I'm developing in the characters and telling me what's going on, how it culminates into what it does. What I want to see here is, let me see. The analysis. Could you just read right here to here and tell me what you do?
From here.
Yes, the analysis, yes, because that's what.
This is, the analysis is the evaluative part, yes,
Mhm.
okay. Analysis decision, prior to. So here you have verb tense and consistency.
Right.
Was an ethical and driven, so where's your pencil? You want to be, that's another.
Consistent
piece.
verb,
Yeah, was an ethical and driven by corporate greed, okay. Corporations want to and are, okay, so want, so you see how you have the two twos here?
well, okay.
You don't need them both. Corporations want and are allowed to, right? You don't need both. But when is enough enough? Comes a time when a company must stand by its mission, statement, proceed. Pause. Case in point, part asserts, do what's right, not what's easy, impact the future. Okay. Therefore, dot, dot, dot. Okay, so you see how here comes, you're saying it's unethical, right? It was driven by greed. There comes a time when a company must stand by its mission statement, and you say their mission statement said, do what's right, not what's easy. Now, part of your analysis or evaluation is to comment on that and tie it back to this. You know, therefore, they deviated from their, from this because, you have to kind of comment on this. You set it up, right, nicely. Case in point is their mission statement. So how is this like, how is their behavior kind of like totally
Okay, contradiction.
totally jack themselves up, right?
Okay.
Did not admit to wrongdoing, and so that will like kind of build into this too, right?
Well, I'm actually trying to get here to allow executives,
Right, so the state elements of his mission, so you kind of comment on the mission statement in order to continue this. And you don't need to capitalize this. This is,
So repeat what you're saying, if you're looking, it's not just, what you're saying? You're saying right here, all right, therefore, should tie back into.
you want to make more commentary on this. You've set it up, you're like, there comes a time when a company must stand by its mission statement. Here's the case in point, Mylan's mission statement was this. But they clearly did not stand up to their own missions. You know, you have to kind of comment on the fact that
Like quotation signs?
that they were hypocrites,
Okay.
you know? So you have like a nice build-up to it, but then you're kind of just, it's like ending on a quotation and expecting the meaning to be obvious. But part of what this assignment's requiring to do is for you to like make a case about something, about some position, and really reflect on it, right? So you know, you should probably make more of a commentary on this to then transition into what's going on
Okay.
here, you know what I
Some
mean?
leading words that go into that.
Yeah, that's to me like what they did is pretty blatantly flouting their own mission statements. So, you know, what's gone on in the companies between the time of the mission statement and now that they did this? You know what I mean? That might be something, you know, it's just like, give me more here.
Okay.
Yeah, and then here it's kind of like just, you're summarizing this, but I need more of an evaluation analysis here. I need more of a commentary from you on why this company, you know,
Okay.
went against its own mission statement. Okay, so,
Thanks, mission statement.
Underline and then tie back to it.
okay, so let's see. The federal government and local government contribute, so local governments, you mean like municipalities? Okay, so from local government entities to issues of, okay, shift from the local government to, so from local government to state, so local government as the seat of power to the state, okay, contributed to issues of high property taxes in New Jersey, okay, and let's see. Mhm. Okay, so this is all set up. State was also involved, okay. Okay, the state, the Great Depression had in fact elevated the state's importance. Okay, let's take this in pieces. Okay, evolution of the state's role and authority. Okay, you're doing that. The tradition began to change after the worst recession in United States history. So you mean the Great Depression? So. Propelling the decline, okay, that's good. This is the beginning of, or remind me again, where does this part appear in the paper?
This is one of the reasons that caused interest.
So it's not at the part of the introduction, it's already part of the body, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. The state government was lacking both political and financial areas to cope with such a unprecedented event. Okay. All right, so I get it. Loss of employment, millions became delinquent on tax payments. And this is, period should be here, okay. On interest liability period has to work as the state government was lacking both. Okay, and then it goes to this, right, 2%. 2% still tax income estimated to raise to alleviate pension. Okay. So as a result of this happened, right? So this seems like it needs a transition. So whether it's transition phrases or words or sentences or something, it's like you're giving me like idea, and I know that they're connected, but I'm like, the transitions also kind of help keep your position in mind, or up front, so it's like, right now, you're just listing fact, okay, but the transitions are kind of like the case building glue, so I might try to work in some, not even just phrases, but maybe a few sentences that kind of like are commenting on this as part of that case building, right? To alleviate, establish the federal, which the state was also not understood. So what's happening here is because of this, and because of unemployment and municipalities being left like pretty much bankrupt, the state then stepped in. And when the state stepped in, that's when the power shift began. I think you need like some kind of acknowledgement there, just like what I said. This was like, this was the beginning of the power shift, or because the municipalities were not able to pay their bills, the state stepped in, signaling the power shift. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Because right now what you're doing is, you need, it's this. It's like, you need that glue, because right now it's just like, fact. Like, so what's, you know what I mean?
More fluid.
Yeah. The state, which, right, you do have this here, but I think you need to like, kind of say it beforehand
Right.
in your style even, okay? It's like, it's sort of similar to Garfield. You're kind of like, you should be commenting on this kind of all the way through, not just like fact, right? Because this is a research paper? Yeah, so you're kind of engaging your audience, so you just don't want to be like throwing out fact. It's kind of like, you want them to read this, so more of you and more of your interest in this has to be coming through your transitions, okay? So, yeah, because you see what you're doing, it's like fact, like this happened and this happened. It's like if I'm saying, I got up, I fed the cat, I took a shower, I got dressed, I got in my car, I drove to campus, there was no parking. I was, like what's missing there?
Cat. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
What's missing there, right?
You're not telling what happened, like, things that, without things.
It's like, what's the purpose of my telling? Because I think this is a good example of you're relying too much for the reader to remember what you said beforehand,
Okay.
and maybe to rely too much on your titles. And you guys know this as readers. Sometimes, part of what makes the reading load hard to deal with in this kind of literature is because, what's their point again? So that's another reason why we suggest look at beginnings, look at conclusions, and look at titles, because sometimes they will give you more information, or they'll go back to the purpose than getting trapped in the middle here, right? Because it's a very common mistake. There's this perception of academic writing that it has to be a certain way, but ultimately what you're really doing, whatever your field is, whatever kind of writing style you have, is you really are telling a story. You're telling your story in relation to this expertise you have on this topic. So you want to engage your audience, okay? Because this information matters to you, so you have to kind of try to relate it to them in a way that would make them care. Because that's who you're writing to. You're writing to peers. How are you going to build a name for yourself in your field?
Right.
Other peers are going to,
Right.
your peers are going to do that for you, right?
Exactly, co-sign.
They're going to say, oh, this person's information was, really useful. They're going to remember your name at things like conferences or for publishing your papers, So, I'm a big fan of taking a more holistic approach to this stuff, and this is not just about getting through this paper. This is, you're building a reputation too. Not, I'm not trying to put pressure on you for this, but like you're telling your story and like why Why is my voice important in this field? Why is my perspective on this important? Okay? Do that before the robots take over.
If they haven't already.
Nobody here is in AI, are they? No, okay.
No artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I'm just on this, autonomous cars, AI kick lately. I've been doing a lot of reading about that because I'm just curious about it, so, okay.
I don't think if there was one here to tell you.
Yeah.
Okay, human.
I just, when I was just comparing what I have on Wikipedia
Uh-huh.
and what was here, there was a lot of editing done to this when they published it.
Yeah.
And I just remember he and his wife were really into this, the cultural thing, with the theater, with the dance, with the music,
You're on break right now from your classes? Or
Yes,
are you taking
yes,
classes?
yes, I'm
Are
on
you guys
break.
all on break from your classes right now, or are you taking classes through the summer?
I'm taking
No,
summer.
classes.
we don't have any classes over the summer.
You don't, okay. So, you know what, Forrest, I have like a tip for you. That's a really, if you can do it, I would approach Tim Raphael. He does Newest Americans. This is not really about immigrants, but he does a lot of, in his newest, look up the Newest Americans, and there's, he does an online thing.
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah,
That's
he runs, he's a professor in cultural arts and media.
Raphael, PH.
Yeah, PH.
Here?
Mhm. Keep in mind too, that any of this work that you're doing, even though you're doing it for your programs, any of it could potentially be adapted for more general interest type publications,
Oh, okay.
okay?
So you're saying we're publishing without a fee? What's going on here?
Well, welcome to my life for the last 25 years. But again, that's part of you building your reputation and getting your name out there, right? And building up credits for your CV, right? If you are able to get published in something, even if it's general interest, are you really gonna turn that down as a credit, right? You see what I mean?
1.5 credit, I'll take it.
Yeah, you have to start, like, small steps lead to like
Right.
bigger things.
I'll definitely take it.
So why don't you contact him for us, Tim Raphael?
Uh-huh.
He's at Newest Americans. I don't know if this would fit into anything he's doing right now, but you can drop my name
Okay.
and just say, hey, I published this article, I'm interested in doing more with this. Is there something, is there like a potential outlet that you're involved with where this could,
Okay.
potentially be published, or would you be interested in it? He might either say yes, or he might direct you to someone he knows.
Okay.
But definitely mention my name.
All right.
Okay. All right. So, you guys ready for a little break?